So thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is the second hour of Mindshifters Radio, and today is Thursday, June the 17th, 2021, and our calling number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. Give Michael just another moment to get dialed in. And apologies, but the Google app still is not working. They are really being challenging. They're arguing, we've got our app that there are only the permission to use the internet and the permission if you want to save it to your phone or print it, the permission to access your printer or your phone where you want to save it. And that's the only permissions. We don't want any of the information unless somebody, where you fill out your name, email, and phone number, there is a checkbox if you want to be added to our mailing list. You check it, and it will send me an email with your name, email, and phone number. Other than that, we collect nothing from the app. And Google apparently doesn't like that. They're wanting us to do all kinds of permission things, and it's like, no, we're not doing it. So just give us a little more time. Hopefully we can get them to see our point of view and get the app before the end of the week. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. And the app is up and operating, just not with the new enhanced features in it with the commitment and such. So it is there. But technology, what fun. It's so great when it works, but when it doesn't work, what a hassle. Anyway, welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here. Glad to have your ears to assist us in spreading the literal energy of this amazing first century Aramaic understanding of life and moving forward into deeper and deeper layers and levels of understanding from that perspective. We've had an interesting conversation going on the last couple of days. And Jeannie, is Susan with us?
She is. I'll turn her microphone back on.
Can we see if the young lady wants to talk to us?
Hey, why wouldn't I want to talk to you?
Hey, young lady. Say again?
Hi. Why wouldn't I want to talk to you?
Well, who knows? Who knows? I loved our conversation yesterday. I thought it was awesome.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well,
what's your upshot? What's your uptake?
Well, I thought a lot about a couple of things. What you said about drugs and the greed of the pharmaceutical industry and all that, and I'm sure a lot of that is true. But when you talk like that, I want to jump onto the other side of the seesaw and say, hey, wait a minute, I know people and things who, they're good people, they intend well, they have helped, and you say as much. I mean, you got on your roller coaster yesterday. And
especially physicians. I think there are awesome physicians out there that have the very best in mind and heart for the people they're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, many of them have been brainwashed by the pharmaceutical industry. If you look back, look up a thing called the Flexner Report, and a certain family that basically runs the pharmaceutical industry. Back around the turn of the century, if you look, most of the medical schools in America were schools of healing. There were naturopathic schools, there were homeopathic schools. If you just look at the king who died recently in England, their whole life, their healthcare was homeopathic, as is the queen. And what's she now? I don't know, 90-something, 104 or something like that. So there are healing modalities out there. But this guy sent a guy named Flexner, who was a minister. He wasn't even a medical person, around to inspect all of the medical schools in America, and he turned in damning reports about everything that had to do with healing and wonderful reports about everything to do with pharmaceuticals. And over a period of time, based on the Flexner Report and based on money going into politics, most schools of healing were eradicated and they became pharmaceutical schools. Now, I've taught several times in osteopathic colleges over the years, and it's interesting because at one time the osteopathic tradition and practice of healing was about healing. It wasn't about medicine. It was healers who used their hands to move energy through people's bodies and bring just monumental healing in arenas that medicine can't even touch. And back a few years ago, they attempted to, well, pardon me, they didn't attempt. They basically put out an invitation saying, okay, osteopaths, in essence, what they did is said, we will allow you to write prescriptions. You can be just like medical doctors and know you'll make so much more money. And they bet it. They bought it. Now, as a naturopath, I used to practice in Atlanta, Georgia. And the head of our naturopathic board had been a state bureaucrat. And one of his, this goes back, my kids were small, so 35, 40 years ago. One of the people in the state government contacted the head of our naturopathic board, and he said, hey, you better check this out because they're trying to ruin you guys. They're trying to destroy your profession. And here's what they did. The state legislature said, we're going to rewrite...
Michael, move your microphone. You keep getting muffled and going back and forth.
Okay, thank you, sweetie. So the state legislature said we want to rewrite the whole state code to simplify the language and make it more plain and understandable for people, which is, of course, was a great vision. And so the naturopathic law, which had been the practice of naturopathy shall be legal, blah, 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 and part of the language in it was excluding the use of X-ray, surgery, and drugs. Well, what came down the pike was, it was interesting that the word legal became illegal in the rewrite of the code for naturopathy. And they basically, in a lot of states, eradicated the practice of naturopathy. And then, and they were trying to do exactly what they did with the osteopaths. They wrote into the rewrite of the code that the practice of naturopathy shall be illegal and shall exclude X-ray and surgery and avoid drugs. Which meant the pharmaceutical industry could have come in and given us the same offer they gave the osteopaths. Come on, write prescriptions and we'll put you in the equivalent status. You'll get insurance coverage and all that stuff. It's a wormy business. And I think a lot of doctors have had their integrity really compromised by the brainwashing. You know, if you look at the educational system in medical schools, it is classic brainwashing. I mean, long hours, like 12-hour, 14-hour, 24-hour shifts, no time for eating, cafeterias with nutrition-free food, high pressure, and somebody there all the time right on your back. I mean, it's total brainwash. I mean, just, take a look at the definition of brainwashing and how it's done, and you'll see that it's there. And I think it's a sad thing, and I think it's time for us to wake up. You'll notice that virtually every day, if you are a television watcher, and Dad watches a lot of television, so we sit with him in the evenings, and there are certain channels, and I think it's channels mostly that older people watch, that, I mean, every second ad is pushing a disease and pushing a pharmaceutical solution. And in those ads, there is total and complete brainwashing. I mean, they sell the disease, and then after selling the disease, they tell you, we have a solution. Just ask your doctor if this is right for you. And then, they create visual links for people of, this couple who are dancing through the daisies, obviously going off to have wonderful sex, and the voiceover for that scene is, and if you happen to, use this drug, this body part may fail, that may fail, this may fail, you may have this, you may have this, and watch it because it may, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. That's brainwashing. And this industry, if you just do a little research, you'll see that I mean, the criminal activity, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars in fines by the government for all kinds of fraud and chicanery. We need to start to look and wake up. And I think that pharmaceutical advertising in America, I mean, I think there are only two countries, I think Britain and America, allow pharmaceutical companies to do this brainwashing. The only two countries in the world. And I think it's time for it to stop, and it's time for us to wake up. And absolutely, there's a place for it. I mean, no question, drugs can save lives. And if all you're interested in doing is saving a life, well, it's pretty cool. But if you don't add healing to the mix, that life may not be saved for very long. And, you look at the fact that people in the process of death in this country turn over a huge amount of their wealth to the pharmaceutical industry. And the number one cause of bankruptcy in America, pills. So, I think it's just a wake-up call, and it's something, because it's such a powerful industry with so much money, that all those things that I've just said are hidden away. But if you go research them, you find that everything I've said is true. And I think there are a lot of doctors that have been taken advantage of by the pharmaceutical industry. Jeannie will share with you, she used to work for a pharmaceutical company, and the pharmaceutical reps, they had to have a university degree, but as long as they were cute, it could be a degree in flower arranging. And that cute little mini skirt would walk into the doctor's office and wrap the doctor around their fingers, and no education whatsoever in the pharmaceutical world except what they were trained to say. And they basically not only sold the drugs to doctors, but they instructed doctors on how to use them. And they're not medical professionals and don't have a medical background, most of them. They're cute women to a large degree. So there's some of the reasons why I say what I say, or said what I said yesterday. And it's definitely time for us to wake up.
Duly noted, Michael. Good grief. It's a horrible story.
It's
really horrible.
I mean, especially if you start looking, and I've done this, go and Google the fines that Eli Lilly and GSK and each of those, I mean, millions upon millions upon millions, and a lot of it for fraudulent advertising. I mean, we could go on and on and on. The number of atrocities, the number of drugs that were out there. There was one, I don't remember what one it was. This was a few years ago, but there was this particular drug that was killing people, and the reason the pharmaceutical industry gave for not taking that drug off the market is they needed the money for more research to find out what was wrong with the drug. That's literally what they told the FDA. Pretty crazy. But anyway. Not our problem, but, we can educate people. And who knows?
Right.
Who knows when the right person hears it. Go ahead.
I had to do some goal eliminating as a result of hearing you talk, because you reported that there's been a study that people who have been on antidepressants for a long time live on the average 20 years less. And I have a son who's on antidepressants and a husband who's been on since he's been in his 20s when they first came out, and a grandson, in fact, 3 grandsons. 4 of my 5 grandsons are on anti-anxiety or antidepressant medications. There's that. And then there was the suggestion you made that I work with Jonathan and Charlie doing worksheets and show them the videos. After the show yesterday, I went for a walk with both of them, and put the idea to them in a very gentle way. I said, how about, since you both are, summer is here, Jonathan's taking a leave of absence, if not retiring from medicine. How about we do that? And you know, I thought of what you said about leading a horse to water. Both of them, I said, Jonathan, we could do 2 worksheets a day. That's not much. He said, that is too much. That seems like asking.
And it might be too much for him initially.
Well, maybe it is. And in any case, I have
1 a week.
Michael, I have backed off from saying anything anymore about.
Okay, I hear you. Yep,
and
I hear you.
Had to cancel the goal of having them go a route that I know to be life-changing for me. Trust in the universe, trust in their own healing power. And I did a worksheet on these things, and a memory came up of my own extreme anxiety when I was a teenager, which went on and on and on. I had it. It was the way I was. And we didn't talk about it back then. Yeah, and it's genetic, and we didn't talk about it. There were no medications, and I just thought that's the way it is. And look at me now.
Yeah.
I lived. I survived. I'm okay. So that was a very consoling and helpful thought, is that they can be okay even if they don't do worksheets and don't go to the video workshops and they keep taking their pills. I had to do a lot of canceling of goals after that show yesterday, Michael.
I hear you.
Woo.
I hear you. So if you were to look at, let's take Charlie, and if you were to look at behind this label that's been given to him, behind this story that's been told to him about what's wrong with him, behind his diagnosis, quote unquote diagnosis, if you were to look at the primary emotion behind all of that for him, what would you classify it as? What would it look like to you?
Fear, need to control, need to make sure Dad's okay. And Dad had to make sure that Dad was okay. Jonathan watched his father have anxiety on his way to work every single day. So Jonathan is doing the same. So is that answering your question? Is that what you meant?
It is. Mm-hmm. If you were to look at Jonathan, what would you categorize it as?
Feeling incredibly unsafe, as if the whole world is not a safe place. He has to control his world, and he controls it now by getting fear, terrible fear.
So fear, okay. So is there anybody else in the family or in the genetic line with fear that is open to support and healing their fear that might help open the space? Not that I have anybody in particular in mind.
Shut up, Michael. Okay, it's me, of course.
Notice, and I'm saying this, I'm saying this, notice that your first response to Jeannie's process was?
My response to her process was fear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was?
Well, the word I heard you use in the show 2 days ago was concern. I'm not sure the word fear was used.
Oh, I just felt for her. I hurt for her. My heart hurt for her.
So can I offer
wanted to protect her.
Can I offer the definition of denial in this work?
Sure.
That when I think something outside of me, I speak about something outside of being the cause of what's moving inside of me, that I'm in denial.
Mm-hmm.
So my offering is, you can't hurt for her. You can have the kind of hurt that you imagine she has, and in listening, that resonates. But when I think I'm hurting for her, I think it's the same as being angry with someone else. We're in denial.
Got it.
And so my invitation would be to recognize, so obviously identifying someone in that space resonates something deep in me, and I would offer, and it's exactly the same as what's going on with your son and your grandson. So they came by it honestly, and my input would be that as you work through the next layer and the next level of that, You're going to be the one that opens the space. And I'd offer that this is the next space. This is the next level that you can open for each of those young men.
By getting well myself.
That's it. Critical mass.
I'm working on it.
It's all energy.
Well,
I mean, literally, they're saying that the mind is a gravitational field, and when you change that gravitational field, you change everything and everybody around you.
Mhm. Yeah, and I hope that's true, and I'm not there yet. I had a lot of anxiety this morning over Jonathan, who texted me first thing and said, I am paralyzed with guilt and panic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I dive right down the tubes, and I'm doing my work and saying my little affirmations and asking God for help and remembering things and doing worksheets.
Do you think he would lay down and breathe even? If you got the energy field workout that you learned in the intensive and said, let me teach you a relaxation technique. And
he might do that.
The still point breathing process. It's nothing he has to think about, nothing he has to do, but he'll get the experience. I mean, there's a physician. I went down to Florida a few weeks ago. You might remember I did that.
Yeah.
And he wanted to bring he's expanding his office. He wanted to bring the forgiveness work on a deeper level beyond just himself into his office. And he's got, I don't know, he's got 10 or 12 employees. And the thing that he mentioned when he was talking to his employees as a physician was that when he first ran into this work, somewhere between 25 and 30 years ago, he came to a mind shifters and still point breathing process that we were doing at Unity in Sarasota.
Yeah.
And he said, as he's talking to his employees, he said, and the reason that we want to do this here is that was my first experience of really being connected to the presence of love. If you can give him that taste, it will change everything in his life, either of them and both of them. And taking that energy field work, even though it's been a while since you've done it, go over it, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but that energy field work is so simple to open the space and the movement of energy, and, it might be the thing that gives Jonathan, and maybe in turn, Charlie too, a direct taste of who they really are, presence of love. So maybe that might be another way to introduce it. And
that's a good idea.
The beauty of doing that with people is you can't take somebody through still point without experiencing the energy of it yourself. So you'll get the gift too.
Well, we're going to go for a walk this afternoon, so there may be an opening.
Sweet. Awesome.
Hope so.
Well, we'll hold the space, and we'll hold the space for, realizing the next level of your work and stepping in and doing that. And one of the things I really acknowledge and admire about you is that from day one, when you touched into this, you dug in and you started doing it. And, you've been tasting the benefits of it, and maybe this will take it to the next level, especially with those young men in mind and opening the space for them.
Michael, I have a weird question for you. I was asking myself how I got connected with you, and I might have told you on the radio show, and there's no reason why you should remember unless you do. Do you remember anything? Yeah, I can't remember either. There was some connection, and I can't tell you where that was, what happened. I could go back through the archives, dig around to that first radio show. I have no idea when it was. And,
you
I'm not inclined
mentioned
to do
it,
that.
but I don't know. I don't recall. Janie, do you have any recall?
I don't know why
Susan's first call and her saying how we connect. Well,
I'm going back 3 or 4 years since I've been on the radio show now, and the time flies so much. I have no sense of time, anymore.
I hear you. It does rock.
It does. Michael, you were talking about honoring truth in the personal code evaluation.
Right.
Honoring truth means recognizing denial. Right, recognizing denial and shunning anything that is not love. Is there any other way you would define that?
Well, I wouldn't say shunning anything that is unlike love. I would say embracing in the presence of love anything that is unlike love. Rather than shunning it, it's opening the space to be with it, but to be with it while love is conscious, active, and present, because that's the healer.
Right. Okay, that's great. So would that, I still haven't got a handle on what truth is. And I remember Pontius Pilate saying, what is truth? Was it Pilate or Herod? I can't remember who said it. Somebody said it back then. What is truth? Anyway, he might not have meant that kind of truth anyway.
Here would be my take. Is when I am free enough of carbon-based memory that I use it for an advisor when I need its advice. It's got information, it's got past, it's got all kinds of things that can be useful to me. But when I can be free of that sufficiently that the actuality of an event is welcomed into my field and is able to write meaning into my mind, then I'm in truth. If I have to come up with my defense or my story, or it's like this or it's like that, then I am in denial of truth. I'm in blockage of truth. And the main way that people end up in blockage of truth is that their mind generates an error, something based in hostility or fear. You made me so angry, and calls that lie the truth. Remembering that there are only, according to that Harvard research where they measured 10,000 brain cells firing, and the max amount of data that came into conscious awareness is 9 bits. When that 9-bit space is filled with a lie, and then we call that lie the truth, then we're in blockage of truth. We are not interested in honoring truth. We're only interested in our story.
Right. Got it. Yep. And the temptation is great at times.
Yeah. For sure. And if you go back into the ancient scriptures, you'll remember that Yeshua talked about, if you want to worship God, which means emulate the presence of love, become like the Creator, you've got to do that in truth and in ruka, in spirit, in that connected to that elemental force. And the scriptures go so far as to say God is truth. So the actuality of what happens, as opposed to being hung up in our own realities and our own stories and our own generational patterns, allows a new energy to come in and write meanings based in actuality rather than meanings based in my genetics. 2 days ago when Jeannie did the show, she did it because I was in process and was in here breathing. And actually, I made some notes. Let me get this note here. So here's my note on this topic. So the ant sees what the ant was built to perceive. The mouse perceives what the mouse was built to perceive. You and I perceive what our bloodline has trained us to perceive. And I use those words definitely, that we see it because we were trained to perceive it. Our perceptual constructs were made to produce that. So we're handed a whole bag of mind energy at birth, some of it based in family dynamics, some of it wonderful, sweet, connected to love. And unfortunately, a lot of it's based in fear, hostility, rage, grief, sadness, war, pain, divorce, hatred. And, it was almost like in that still point session, I could hear the Creator saying, you've got yourself a world, and it's based in what you were trained to perceive, and I didn't make you for any of that. I made you to perceive the world of love that I created.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, boy, does that make sense. And, of course, to make sense of that, you have to back it up with some verification. And to me, the verification is go back to the moment when you held the newborn, describe the essence of the newborn, and the essence, virtually everybody agrees the essence of the newborn was active present love. And we were made to generate perceptions out of a mind connected to that presence of love. And you go back, and that's what was called the mind of Christ. There's nothing religious about the idea of the mind of Christ. What mind did Christ think with? He thought with the mind of love. And when that mind is active in us, Paul, when he says the mind of Christ in you, your hope of glory, that's not some kind of a religious idea you're going to have Jesus' mind in you. That mind that was in the man they referred to as Yeshua the Christ is also in you. And that is, and glory there I would see as, that's our key to experiencing what the Creator gave to us in creation. And we puke on it, and we push it away, and we push the Creator's world away, and we push the Creator away. And then, that's the definition of hell. The original definition of hell is separation from the active presence of the love of the Creator. And we've been given a whole narrative that's all based in a fraud and a lie. Who was it? One of the early theologians, I don't remember who it was, but said that, the greatest trick of the devil is to make you believe that he does not exist. Mm-hmm. I would offer the greatest trick of Satan, the resistor, one who misleads, and that's an inside job, is to convince us that he does exist and believe in it. And as we step into forgiveness and dismantle the lie, and I think that's the single reason the Greeks came along and translated the whole idea of forgiveness as letting somebody else off the hook, because by doing that, they disappeared the key tool for getting rid of, for getting free of the resistor, the one who misleads, that resides right inside of us. So, to me, that statement, the mind of Christ in you that Paul made, your hope of glory, it's like your hope of accomplishment, your hope of living as you were designed to live, your hope of living as the active presence of love and being free of all the diagnosis that the world has ever made up to entrap somebody and snare them in a lie. The greatest trick ever played was to convince us that such a creature as Satan exists as this personal being that's out to get us, and leaving out the actual definition as Yeshua would have said it in the first century, that this creature Satan is the resistor, one who misleads. It's a function of the mind misled into a lie. And you watch the average person when you tell them or ask them to be responsible, what do they say? Well, and this is oftentimes the resistance to worksheets. It's like, well, you're saying that I'm doing this to myself? You're saying this is all my fault? No, let me tell you about what happened. And then there's a whole story about somebody else. And notice that as you've done worksheets, so many stories that seem to be so true just totally and completely fell apart when you brought the root of them forward in the presence of love. And that's forgiveness.
The verse on that you were asking about when somebody asked, what is truth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was when Yeshua was standing before Pilate, and Pilate was questioning. And so it's in John 18. And in 37, he says, Pilate said unto him, so are you a king? And Jesus said, thou sayest that I am a king. To this end I have been born, and to this end I am come into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice. And Pilate said to him, what is truth? And then he went, when he had said that, and went out to the Jews and said, I find no crime in him.
Oh, boy. Mm.
So he got it. He didn't know how to articulate it, but he got it. He got the message. He got the direct experience of love.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Yay.
Yep.
Absolutely.
How are you, Jeannie?
I am doing well, thank you. I came up with a few more issues that I need to work on, and every time that India makes a change or does something, then they have me test it. Well, to test it, I have to go through and do a worksheet. So one of the things I know. So one of the things in testing and working on this app is that I have done probably, 30 or 40 worksheets in just the last couple of days, because I have to test the 7-step, the abbreviated, and the Dragon Klingon on both the Android and the iPhone. So right there's 6. And then they'll make a change, and I have to go through and do it again.
Wow.
And this morning,
good.
And this morning, as we awakened, Jeannie's whole physical structure was crying in pain. Physical pain.
No.
Oh, yeah. I'd already forgot about that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. How awesome.
Everything hurt. My neck hurt, my hips, my rib cage. It was like I had cramps in my legs. I forgot about that already.
Yeah. Well, why did you forget about it? We processed it. We worked on it. And what?
Yep.
20 minutes later, it was gone?
Yep.
To say, okay, I want to enter the healing process, but I want everything to feel good all the time. I'm not willing to embrace anything that I've traumatized my system with. No, I don't want to feel the effects of what I've done to myself. It's to say, I don't want to enter into this process. Remember willingness? So if I'm willing to go through, it's one of the key steps in the worksheet, the physical, mental, and emotional symptoms of healing. What are they going to look like? On a physical level, it literally is going to look like any kind of physical symptom you have ever had in your life, and maybe symptoms you have never had but are in your genes. And low energy. On a mental level, it's going to look like any kind of negative thought that's ever been in your bloodline, and when that starts to move, it's going to look like confusion. On an emotional level, it's going to look like any kind of negative feeling you've ever had or has ever been in your bloodline, and depression. I'm willing to embrace those states. When I'm doing my work, I understand that when things start to move, I may physically, mentally, or emotionally hurt. And I want to remember that willingness so that I can soften, open, and embrace that energy as it moves, rather than tighten, lock down, and go back to the sympathetic dominant state of fear. So to me, it's exciting when I see that happen. I love it.
You better watch out.
I love it in an intensive, when I see somebody in extreme turmoil and trauma. Because I know with that whole team there holding the space, that opening for that person is going to process out that extreme trauma. And on the other side of it, they're going to come out free of it. That's the healing process. If we're not willing to embrace the healing process, we're not going to heal.
Mm.
Oh, I'm in a healing process. Let me go grab a fifth of scotch or something to suppress the pain. No, I want to breathe. I want to be with it. And literally, you can move through things that, in the past would have taken days, weeks, sometimes months to go through, and you can be through it in minutes if you're in that state of willingness. It's like, willingness is the cosmic grease that lets things move, but I can't tighten my structure, lock down my breath, hold on to everything, and heal. Because I'm a house divided against myself. So get excited when that happens. No, I didn't, tumble down the stairs, cancel the thought, tumble down the stairs and just get beat up. I've been doing my work, and here I feel like I've been beat up. All right, when have I felt this kind of being beat up before? Oh, yeah, that was when. And now I'm going to take a deeper breath, and I'm going to go into the next layer of it, the next level, and I'm going to embrace that energy that's been locked into tissue, and I'm going to free it from my structure. So get excited about it, because it's exciting. And healing doesn't happen without it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I must say, I've been...
Notice... Go ahead. No, you've finished the sentence.
I've been... it's been pretty intense around here.
We've watched the whole series and waiting for next year to come out, yes.
Oh, you
it's
did?
An awesome series.
Oh, great.
We've watched it all, yes.
I love it.
But
I've been wondering... I've been asking myself if I'm avoiding something by doing this. But you know what, Michael? Sometimes you just get pooped and you want to break.
Well, I've found that Heartland, as with the nurses, I mean, there's a lot of healing dynamics that go on in that show.
No
and I
kidding.
Found it to be a wonderful thing to just fully engage in and let it move things for me.
Yeah,
now, if you haven't gotten to the series yet, where the young man, let's see what happens. He ends up going back to a house, where his father was, and the healing crisis is monumental, and it just opens a space in your heart if you're there with it. And it's kind of like vicarious atonement. If somebody else does the work, you open and breathe and just let the energy move, and you get the benefit of it. That to me is one of the powers of the right kind of movie or TV show.
Well, I know what you mean about... Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I know what you mean about TV and those ads. This is a detour, but we don't have a television. So I watch these on Netflix, and we don't have to deal with all those ads.
No commercials. Yeah. Yes, that's what we did too.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm going to offer to you, or maybe in the form of a warning, is if you get the right kind of space created with these young men, you're liable to see some pretty heavy-duty crap come up. And be aware that if it does, your job as facilitator and support is to be the space and stay connected to love rather than go into, your job is to breathe and be the space, and hopefully you'll get to see some really horrible traumas come out of your son and your grandson's mouths and bodies.
Michael,
and by being...
I didn't understand what you just said. I didn't understand it. Can you say it again?
So, let's make up a scenario. Your son who lives in this anxiety and this state, when he was 4, went to the neighbor's house, was invited by his friend to go for dinner, and maybe he watched that friend literally get the hell beat out of him, horribly beaten. You may be the space that makes it safe enough for that 4-year-old mind to open and go back through, literally, full-blown physical, mental, emotional, spiritual memory of that event. And it will come out looking like the trauma it was when it went in. And to facilitate the healing process, your job is to be the space and stay connected to love, and or if that resonates something in you that you process yourself in a hurry, and you're right there, embracing that energy, making it safe enough for that to move. I don't know what happened to either of those young men. You know a little bit about what happened to Luke because you did worksheets with him and you got to see that. And so am I here and ready to embrace, whatever? I mean, for someone with your son's education and intelligence and such, there's some heavy-duty trauma in there. And maybe it never happened to him. It might be, 2 or 10 generations old. I don't know. From what from what Tim has said, and some of the things that went on with his father, it wouldn't surprise me that it's even genetic. And it very possibly will come back as a full-blown physical, mental, emotional memory. And be aware of your own tendency to perhaps recoil from that and go into fear or anxiety about it, and breathe and pay attention to your own body and notice where it tightens and softens and allow that to let loose. Because it might even have been something that happened with you. And breathe. Are you breathing?
Yeah. I wonder if that's true.
Well, fortunately, we don't have to figure it out. Fortunately, all we need to do is look at the goal of the moment that's driving the mind to bring the surface of that to awareness, and then cancel that goal and let the mind drop into the next deeper level of what needs to come up and be healed.
Yeah.
And, anxiety and fear and rage and guilt and post-traumatic stress disorder, they're not, let's scratch the word disorder, post-traumatic stress. They're not disorders. None of them are disorders. They're natural responses to the traumas that happen in everyone's life. And to label it a disorder is really to dishonor that experience in that person and create the space where, well, you better not let that come up because that's a big disease. No. Lies, lies, lies. That is not a big disease. It is a dis-ease energy in your structure. Obviously, you are in great distress and dis-ease right now, but it's not a disease.
It's
a natural response.
Really true.
Yeah, the anxiety, all of it is a natural response to, how do I handle this? I don't have the tools. I don't know what to do with this. I'm only 4 years old, or I'm only 20 years old, or I'm only 50 years old, and I don't have a clue what to do with this. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to breathe. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to acquire the tools and process through all of it. And all of the dis-ease energy disappears as a result of forgiveness. What's happening?
Oh, big memory came up, and I do think there's something I've got to talk to my son about. I've mentioned this before.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hit myself. It was like cutting, but I never associated it with cutting. Punishing.
Right.
Punishing. If I made a mistake, I would sock myself in the head or hit my face or run into a wall head first.
Try to use the pain you could control to control the pain you couldn't control.
Yeah, and also punish, just blame. I was stupid, so I did this. He saw that. He even mentioned it the other day. Remember how you used to hit yourself in the head, Mom? I thought, you saw that. Oh, my God, you saw that.
So it's getting close to the surface for him. That's awesome. Now, Can you embrace that in love?
I can.
Stay connected.
Yeah,
awesome.
I think I can.
So
I want to say to him, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Well, but you see, that's like, so let's imagine, think of him as an energy field, and something's trying to come out to be processed.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you say? You don't have to do that, which is now a hand pushing it right back in again and down.
Okay.
My invitation to you would be, and I'd go back to him and say, when there's a good energy, a good space between, remember back last week or 3 days ago when it was you were talking about when I used to hit myself, and tell me more about what you remember about that. What did that feel like? What did that mean to you? And encourage his energy field to open up and that had to be a pretty traumatic event for.
Yeah. I can do that. That's good. Yeah. Are you still there, Michael? Everything went silent. Can't hear a word.
Yeah, I think he's. Let me walk in there.
I got
think
cut
he's
off.
talking. Oh,
I got cut off,
is.
and I'm back.
Okay.
So just
right.
recognizing that. What did his young mind make of that? Watching this person who was God to him, what kind of power person dynamic did that install? And is this his way of punishing himself, of doing the same thing? Is he replicating that power person dynamic? And can you get free enough of, and it's his invitation to you as well to process on another level that trauma for you. And can you get brave enough and courageous enough to stay connected to love, to keep breathing, to keep softening your own, your shoulders and your neck and your jaw and your pelvis, to open and let that energy process for both of you. Because that's what it takes to heal.
Mm.
The ego mind generally will say, "Well, no, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to look at that."
Mm.
Well, the minute somebody goes into close your throat, hold your breath, we don't want to look at that, you now know there's something that's really important to open and to look at.
Yeah. Oh.
And as you said, Charlie watched his dad and what he did to himself. This is a power person dynamic we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And so, under stress, when the stress is up and the chips are down, what does Charlie do? Same thing. Now, he's very, he's got a variation on the theme, but, and we don't know. Maybe when he's by himself, he does hit himself or harm himself. Things on himself. So I'd be, probably it'd be good with this stirred as we've just stirred it for you to do some worksheets around that. Breathe and then open the space with him. You said that, and I kind of pushed it off, but by telling you didn't have to do it. But what was that like? What? I need to understand that more. I need to be with that. I realize there's something there more for me to heal, and so please help me with that and tell me what that your recall is, what your memory is of it.
That's really good, Michael. That's a way of working with him that he'd be very open to doing.
sweet. Awesome. And then, you know, if you see that you're working through some of that, then to move to the next step of, you know, maybe we can do this with Charlie because, you know, I noticed Charlie watches what you've done to yourself and he's kind of replicating it too. So, you know, let's just keep opening this whole family dynamic up and let's free us all from it.
Yeah, Jonathan is very eager to heal in order for Charlie to see him healing. He's very highly motivated. So,
well, there's the opening for here's how it's done. And we're certainly here holding the space for it to open. I mean, we just have this whole generation of young men who are obviously living in some pretty heavy-duty trauma. You know,
yep.
It sounds like Luke has opened the door, has opened the way. You know, he did spend that couple of years with you, a significant amount of time, and dug in and did worksheets, and you know, he's recognizing it saved his life. So, you know, he's opened the window. Yeshua talks about how I've opened the door wide and nobody can close it. Well, Luke and you have opened the door on another level. Tim, doing his work, has opened the door on another level. So just keep that door opening and rock through it.
Yeah.
And know that, you know, Yeshua talked about, you know, don't be concerned about getting in front of the judge and what you're going to say. If you're breathing and Rook is active in you, the words will be put in your mouth. You'll know exactly what to say.
That's good to remember.
And that guidance is there. Always. Report you doing some work on the anxiety that came up for you when you heard Jeannie talking about what she was working on with OCB.
Yeah.
And, you know, and when you think about it, you know, you think about if I'm with somebody who's in trauma and energy moves throughout the world in faster than the speed of light, and I really want to be there to support them, am I going to be more supportive by being in my trauma? Or am I going to be more supportive by, if trauma comes up for me and I heal it and I'm in a deeper space of love, which way am I going to be able to facilitate and support?
Absolutely. I get it.
That's cool. Sweet. And now we're down to the last minute already. That was a fast hour and an awesome one. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness.
Welcome. Thanks for doing
and we're absolutely here for support. And everybody, create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Thank you again, Susan and Jeannie. Bless you both.